Hey everybody, hope y'all are doing well. So we got early morning here and we are in again Nehemiah. We got starting off down here at Service of the Temple, so that's chapter 12. I'm going to continue on into 13 and finish off. Service at the temple. On that day, men were appointed over the storerooms, the contributions, the first fruits, the tithes, to gather into them the portions required by the law for the priests and for the Levites according to the fields of towns. For Judah rejoiced over the priests and the Levites who ministered. And they performed the service of their God in the service of purification, as did the singers and the gatekeepers according to their command of David and his son Solomon. For long ago, in the days of David and Asaph, there were directors of the singers, and there were songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. And all Israel in the days of Zerubbabel and in the days of Nehemiah gave the daily portion for the singers and the gatekeepers, and for the set apart that which was for the Levites, and the Levites set apart that which was for the sons of Aaron. So now we're in chapter 13, Nehemiah's final reform. On that day they read from the book of Moses in the hearing of the people, and in it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever enter the assembly of God. For they did not meet the people of Israel with bread and water, but hired Balaam against them to curse them. Yet our God turned the curse into a blessing. As soon as the people heard the law, they separated from Israel all those of foreign descent. Now before this, Elishib, the priest, who was appointed over the chambers of the house of our God, and who was related to Tobiah, prepared for Tobiah a large chamber, where they had previously put the grain offering, the frankincense, the vessels, and the tithes of grain, wine, and oil, which were given by commandment to the Levites, singers, and gatekeepers, and the contributions for the priests. While this was taking place, I was not in Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, I went to the king. And after some time I asked leave of the king and came to Jerusalem, and I then discovered the evil that Elishib had done in Tobiah, preparing for him a chamber in the courts of the house of God, and I was very angry. And I threw all the household furniture of Tobiah out of the chamber. Then I gave orders, and they cleansed the chambers, and I brought back there the vessels of the house of God with the grain offerings and the frankincense. I also found out that the portions of the Levites had not been given to them, so that the Levites and the singers who did the work had fled each to his field. So I confronted the officials and said, "Why is the house of God forsaken?" And I gathered them together and set them in their stations. Then all Judah brought the tithe of the grain, wine, and all that and oil into the storehouses. And I appointed as treasurers over the storehouses Shelemiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, and Pedaiah of the Levites, and as their assistant Hanan the son of Zakut, son of Mattaniah, for they were considered reliable, and their duty was to distribute to their brothers. Remember me, O my God, concerning this, and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for his service. In those days I saw in Judah people shredding wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in heaps of grain and loading them in donkeys, and also wine, grapes, figs, and all kinds of loads, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I warned them on that day when they sold food. Tyrians also, who lived in the city, brought in fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath to the people of Judah in Jerusalem itself. Then I confronted the nobles of Judah and said to them, "What is this evil thing that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers act in this way, and did not our God bring all this disaster on us, on this city? Now you are bringing more wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath." As soon as it began to grow dark at the gates of Jerusalem before the Sabbath, I commanded that the doors should be shut, and gave orders that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of my servants at the gates, that no load might be brought in on the Sabbath day. Then the merchants and the merchants of sellers of all kinds of waters lodged outside Jerusalem once or twice. But I warned them and said to them, Why do you lodge outside the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time on, they did not come on the Sabbath. Then I commanded the Levites that they should purify themselves and come and guard the gates to keep the Sabbath day holy. Remember, this also is my favor, O my God, and spare me according to the greatness of your steadfast love. In those days also I saw the Jews who had married women to Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of the other children spoke the language of Ashdod, and they could not speak the language of Judah, but only the language of each people. And I confronted them and cursed them and beat some of them and pulled out their hair, and I made them take an oath in the name of God, saying, You shall not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons or for yourselves. Did not Solomon king of Israel sin on account of such women? Among the many nations there was no king like him, and he was beloved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, foreign women made him to sin. Shall we then listen to you and do all the great evil and act treacherously against our God by marrying foreign women? And one of our sons of Jehoiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest, was the son-in-law of Sanballat the Onite. Therefore I chased him from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have desecrated the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and the Levites. Thus I cleansed them from everything foreign, and I established the duties of the priests and the Levites, each in his work. And I provided for the wood offerings and appointed times and for the first fruits. Remember me, O my God, for good. Now, if you all followed through with me to the end of this, there's just some things I want to say concerning Pops on the Sabbath, and also, in regards to marrying a foreign woman, and what I think the Bible is talking about when they say that. I'm going to try to contact Pops today and go over some things to clarify this, but first of all, the whole Sabbath thing has been, turned around. He has never said anything to me about not doing any work on the Sabbath. He's all about love and action all the time. And then on the foreign woman thing, I think if you look up the word foreign, it means stranger, or somebody, different. So in that sense, they could just be talking about people who really ain't about the Lord and righteousness, not so much like, people from a foreign land, like, immigrants or something like that. It's more about, who they are in the heart, whether they really have a relationship with Yahushua or, they a relationship somewhere else, So again, these are just some of my thoughts concerning this passage. But anywho, hope you all are doing well. All right, love you guys. Goodbye.